Hey there, movie fans. Welcome to a brand new FYC. We are up to our next in year-end movie watching and Oscar predictions. March 12th, 2023 is coming in hot, but we are still at the end of 2022. And on this show, with the amazing Perri Nemiroff and the mighty Jeff Snyder, this is a jam-packed episode of FYC because before we get into our predictions for cinematography and animated feature, we are going to weigh in on the Oscar chances for Avatar: The Way of Water. We have all literally just seen it. This is hot off the presses. So we're going to go down the list of what we think Avatar: The Way of Water will get nominated for, possibly win. But before we get to that, this is what the first movie won for the Oscars. It won in visual effects. It won for art direction, production design, and it won for cinematography. It was also nominated for, of course, Best Picture, Director, Editing, Score, and Sound Mixing and Sound Editing. So, as we all know, those two categories were combined, and now it's just Best Sound. So that was the first movie. So, without further ado, I'm going to throw to you, Perri. Like, what do you think is absolutely no question about it the number one category that The Way of Water will get nominated for?
I'll go. I mean, the way you just phrased that, I feel like I have to bring up visual effects first. I think not only is it a done deal that this movie is getting a nomination in that category, but I think it's pretty much the guaranteed winner. I'm just scrolling to who else I have right now, but a big part of the reason why I think that it deserves the win there isn't just because this is one of the most spectacular viewing experiences I think I've ever had in my life. I've never seen anything like what I just saw in those visuals, but also a lot of that technology is going to do exactly what the first film did. It's going to reverberate throughout this industry for many, many years to come, change the game for many more films. So in addition to the visual effects being a feat for The Way of Water, it's going to do so for the entire industry for the foreseeable future. So between that 1-2 punch there, I think it's the winner here.
Okay. Listen, I completely agree. I mean, visual effects is number one with a bullet here. And for a film to maintain its awe-inspiring beauty like that for the duration of its running time, like this movie is always amazing. It's just so visually stunning. Like I've never seen anything like it. It just really knocked my socks off with the visual effects. Jeff, I'm assuming you agree with our number one pick. What will be your next pick for Avatar: The Way of Water?
It's a good question. I'm gonna go with Best Director.
Ooh.
Really? Wow. Okay.
I think James Cameron gets in. I just don't see how you can compare this movie, as good a job as some people think Sarah Polley did with Women Talking, or Gina Prince Bythewood did with Woman King, or just, a bunch of these other directors. I just don't see how they ignore James Cameron for directing this movie. Like, he just did a great job. It's a totally different scale than most of the nominees. But this is like pure Hollywood blockbuster movie making. Like, this is little boys and girls dream of making when they're 6 years old, dreaming of Hollywood in their beds at night. So I think James Cameron will be hard pressed to be ignored this season.
I agree with that. Perri, you think Cameron gets in for director?
I wasn't, for some reason, Jeff, I wasn't expecting you to get behind that prediction so strongly, but I am feeling it too. And, linking that to the visual effects, one of the things that I had said about the visual effects in this movie in my social media reaction was one of the coolest things about them is, yes, they are incredible technical feats, but they always feel like they're trying to, above all else, serve the characters and the stories with what they're able to accomplish. They didn't just develop this technology to be like, look at what we can do. For some reason, I felt like it was all in service of the story. And I feel like something like that doesn't happen unless you have someone orchestrating it all like Cameron at the helm.
All right. What about, okay, so we went right to director next, which is great. And I agree that Cameron gets in for director. Okay. Next category that this will definitely get nominated for, Perri.
I'm going Best Picture. I'm just going to jump there.
Okay, good.
I would be absolutely shocked at this point. I was thinking about it when I first walked out of the movie, how I felt about it. And I should give a little bit of backstory here, because I think I've been saying I've been one of those people who like, yeah, the first one was cool, but I never felt the need to ever rewatch it. And I hadn't rewatched it. I rewatched it on the plane to London for the first time since 2009 last week. And I was definitely more impressed. I'm a completely different person and have a different understanding of film now than I did then. But I like the leaps and bounds they take with this production was truly mind blowing to me. I couldn't believe the fact that I walked out of that movie and would probably walk right back in and see it again. And it's just like, no matter what it gets nominated for, you could really break this movie down to every single department and see people working at peak level with like an extreme attention to detail. I have a feeling this is going to wind up crushing it with critics at award season and also with box office with no competition in its way. So we're gonna be talking about this for a very, very long time.
For sure. Listen, I rewatched Avatar, the first one, when they re-released it in theaters back in September. It'd been the first time I'd seen the movie on the big screen since 2009, and I was reminded of why I loved it so much. And I definitely think this definitely gets in for Best Picture. Jeff, I'm assuming you agree, especially if you're so behind Cameron for Best Director.
I definitely think it gets in. I mean, this is the Dune or the Mad Max Fury Road of the race, if you will. I think it's going to give Top Gun a run for its money, in the from voters who are open to voting for a blockbuster. I think it could hurt Top Gun's Best Picture chances actually, and steal some votes. And so in the end, I actually think it may benefit the Fabelmans, right? If it's taking some votes away from Top Gun. Do I think that this could win? I don't think so. I don't know if it's quite on the Best Picture winner level, but it's going to be a big contender. Yeah, for sure.
It's definitely getting nominated for Best Picture, as it should. Okay, what else? What's the next one, Perri?
Oh, you're throwing it back to me.
Best Sound.
Best Sound.
Yeah. The technical categories seem like the only things that are left.
No, not necessarily. You got a Best Sound. I agree with. I think the score by Simon Franklin was so great that you would swear that James Horner actually composed it. I think it gets nominated for score. Absolutely. The first one got nominated for score for James Horner.
I'm not convinced on that front, but okay.
Yeah, me neither. I think there's like some really strong contenders there right now. I think it gets bumped out of that category.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
I think it gets bumped out of score, and there's some other categories that I could already see some like online discourse about the confusion in terms of, well, is Avatar an animated movie or should it be considered a live action movie? Like, should it be nominated for something like production design? Or, if an animated feature can't be broken down into categories like that, why could Avatar? And, I'm not going to get into a whole conversation about where I think it should fall in the rules and everything, but I think that any confusion existing in that respect will hurt its chances in certain categories.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, unlike the first Avatar, so much more of this is, I guess, more or less animated, if you will. So that's definitely an interesting conversation to have, just not at the moment.
I could have a whole conversation about performance capture and how those performances should be Best Actor, Actress, Supporting nominees.
Well, I'm going to get into that when we talk about our Best Animated Features, because there's a movie in there that up until recently was ineligible. And we'll get into that. I'm sure you know what movie I'm talking about. But all right, so look, art direction, production design, which was one of the Oscars that the first movie won. I think that that's a nomination as well. What about editing?
No.
Yeah, I'm not on board the editing train just yet. I think it's on the bubble, though. I do think it's on the bubble there.
I'm leaning towards it getting a nomination for editing just because of the Best Picture, the Best Director, all the other technical elements of it. I think it makes it in for editing, but I'm not as sold on it as I am for as visual effects. But I do think that it could get nominated for that. What about?
I think the big one is Best Cinematography, Scott, right?
Well, it did win Best Cinematography. The last one did. And I think obviously this will get nominated for cinematography as well. But before we get to that, what about adapted screenplay? Okay, the first one was not nominated for adapted screenplay. I don't think this one will get nominated for adapted screenplay either, but you never know. But yeah, so the first one did win.
It's not a great year for adapted screenplay. I'll say that much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're not going to get back into that conversation, but I feel differently for a very specific reason.
Original screenplay, though, is much stronger.
Yeah, I agree. Original is stronger than adapted. But we already talked about that, and we will again. I think this movie does get in for cinematography. But speaking of cinematography, how about we get right into cinematography? Okay, so Jeff, do you think Avatar makes it in to the top 5 predictions for?
All right, so you're doing the cinematography category then, right?
Yes, we are. Mm-hmm.
All right, normally we'd start with our number 1s, but I'm going to say yes, Avatar does make it in, but it's my number 4.
Okay, Perri, how about you?
Number 3.
It's your number 3. All right. Okay. I'm going to weigh in on where I think it is. But what's your number 1, Perri?
I want to know why you're hiding your answer really badly. My number one is Top Gun Maverick.
Okay. Jeff, where's Top Gun on your list?
Numero uno.
Yeah.
Numero uno. I have Top Gun at number 3. So and of course, Top Gun. Way to go, Top Gun. My number 1 is Everything Everywhere All at Once. For Larkin Seipel. He was an Emmy nominee for Gaslit. I think, there's such a big push for Everything Everywhere All at Once, being like the little movie that could. And boy, did this movie do it. So do either of you have Everything Everywhere on your list? Jeff?
This is what got bumped off my list when I added Avatar.
Okay. Oh, really? All right. Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I don't have it on there. I think this is the nomination that they actually miss out on. I like Larkin Seipel, but yeah, I don't see it.
To be fair, Mans, I'm also being stubborn about my number 5 right now. So it might be more realistic for me to put Everything Everywhere in the actual 5, but I'm not willing to let a certain one go yet.
I think he's a little young. I think he's a little outsidery, Larkin.
I don't think that matters. And he already has some. He already has some street cred, because he is an Emmy nominee. So it's something to show that he has
Emmy nominee.
Well, don't shrug the Emmys. The Emmys are next to the Oscars, like the biggest thing. I think Everything Everywhere. Look, I had Everything Everywhere as my number 1, but we can debate that. Let's move on to Perri. What's your number 2?
My number 2 is The Fabelmans. I feel pretty damn good about that getting a nomination here.
Agreed. Jeff?
Don't have The Fabelmans.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, I don't have either of those. Fabelmans, listen, Janusz Kaminski is brilliant. He's a master. He could definitely get in, particularly with the sentiment that I think that there will be within the Academy for that movie. But I don't know. There's a lot of flashy DPs this season. I did not have The Fabelmans making the cut. There's just visually, other than that last little gag, there's nothing that interesting about it visually.
But there is. It's the way that he blends him actually using movie magic with his real, like literally the whole idea behind the movie, like the whole spine of the movie does not work and feel as fluid unless the cinematography is able to weave as naturally as it does between the two.
Well, that's fair.
I feel really strongly about Fabelman's getting in for exactly what Perri said, but also because of the sentiment for Janusz Kaminski. He is a 2-time Oscar winner, of course, for Schindler's List and Saving Private Ryan. He was nominated last year for West Side Story. All right, so let's keep Fabelman's penciled in for now. Like I said, I had Top Gun Maverick at number 3. Perri, who did you say you had at number 3?
My number 3 is Avatar.
Avatar. And Jeff, who's your number 3?
My number 3, I got to go with the old dog, Roger Deakins, for Empire of Light. I mean, I get that movie hasn't necessarily caught on this season, but it's Roger Deakins. This dude is like the best at what he does. The movie's stunning. It's gorgeous. I think he's going to get in.
Perri, what's your take on Empire of Light making it into the top 5?
I think Empire of Light is fading away. And I'm not saying his work isn't great in it, but it's one of those situations where like you could do the best work you possibly can, but when a movie doesn't come together overall as much as it needs to, it doesn't highlight your work in a way that it would need to in order to get you a nomination. And I think that's what's going to happen in this category for it.
Listen, I liked Empire of Light, and I mean, of course, Deakins is a master. And finally an Oscar winner for Blade Runner 2049. But there are other contenders in my top 5 that I feel like are stronger. I I have Empire Light as an honorable mention, but
Okay. I'm willing to take it off the list and listen to you guys. I do think that film is getting a raw deal from critics. It's not out yet. People have written it off already, and it's like, let's wait and see how actual.
Well, some people have seen it on the festival circuit. Just because it's not out doesn't mean I didn't like it.
Yeah, I saw it too. All right, one movie I think is definitely getting in is The Batman. Greg Fraser.
You said definitely.
Yeah.
So that was my number 5 that I thought I was, starting to be stubborn about.
Absolutely. I think Greg Fraser gets in. I mean, he won last year for Dune Part 1. I mean, The Batman, among other things, I mean, it's visually incredible. And
it's one of the most beautifully shot movies that I've seen. Like I said it back when the movie first came out, or when I first saw it at the beginning of March. And I like have not let go of that. I'm so happy, man.
Yeah. I that movie stuck out, among other things, because of the cinematography. So Jeff, it's not on your list. What the hell is on your list, Jeff?
I have a whole bunch of different movies to mention. Yeah, wow. I don't know what.
Okay, go ahead. All right. Well, Batman is,
Batman is gorgeous too. Greg Fraser did a great job. You're right, and he won last year. So.
All right. Well, what's next on your list then, Jeff?
I mean, I have Robbie Richardson for Emancipation.
Okay. I don't disagree with that. It's on my honorable mentions.
My number 2.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that was just a stunning looking art film. And at number 5, I have, even though I haven't seen it, I'm going to see it on Sunday. I put Linus Sandgren for Babylon.
I have Babylon at number 4.
I don't have Babylon on my list.
You don't have it on your list?
The cinematography, I think, for me at least, was one of the most disappointing aspects of Babylon.
Oh, wow. I actually thought that was one of the stronger points of the film, was the cinematography.
I had someone, I'll just explain why, because I had someone respond to me about it on Twitter, and it obviously caught my eye. I very much understand that part of the point of that movie is to capture how frenetic and just the chaotic vibe of Hollywood at that point. But there's ways to design your visuals in order to yes, emphasize that and enhance that for the sake of the viewing experience. But what I witnessed between the cinematography and the way the editing was done was almost manic, to the point of not yes, things were chaotic then, but I still needed to feel a little more of the magic and have a clearer picture of certain things. And it was just so quick cutting and all over the place that I couldn't even appreciate elements like costume and production designs at some point, because I think all of that was overdone to a point that it was a disservice to the overall concept of the movie.
I saw Babylon a second time, and I liked it much better the second time, because I knew what to expect, and I was able to really pick up things that I missed the first time. I think it's a much better film the second time around. And I do think that Linus Sandgren gets in, but I mean, if you don't, then
I haven't seen it, so I don't want it to be well, there's 2 of us who have it on, so it's on. I'm fine taking mine off and putting Fabelman's on,
Okay. All right. Well, then let's do that.
But there's one movie that I do want to mention before we wrap up this conversation.
I still have one left.
Okay,
Perri, go ahead.
So Batman was my number 5. Right now, my 4 is All Quiet on the Western Front, which I thought was an astoundingly well shot movie. There are a lot of elements of that production that really blew my mind as I watched it, but the standout shining star of that movie to me are those visuals. They are absolutely exceptional. I'll fully admit, similar to Batman, I don't know if enough people will have seen that movie to push it into the category, which does feel quite competitive to me. But right now, I'm thinking it does have a slight chance, and me wanting it to get that nomination over some of these others that we've discussed is putting it in my 5.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that movie, because it's going to segue into the one that I wanted to talk about, which is also a foreign language Netflix movie, and that's Athena. I mean, have either of you seen Athena?
I have not seen Athena.
Okay. So that's a must-see, okay? You'll thank me later. And that is the cinematography tour de force of the year. I mean, I don't think that Matthias Buchard is necessarily going to get nominated, but if you ask me who did the best job as a DP this year, it's him, bar none, 100%. Go see Athena. Amazing.
Good to know. I'll definitely take your word for that. The movie that I really want to get in, the movie that I think should get in, regardless of the fact that it is a stop motion animation film, is Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. That movie, which drops on Netflix by the time this drops on the same day, December 9th, is brilliant. It is a brilliant film. It is a masterpiece. And the cinematography on the film by Frank Passingham is breathtaking. This is a film that not only do I think it's a front runner for the next category we're going to talk about, which is animated feature, but I think it should be nominated for Best Picture. It's that good. Pinocchio is that good. I have not gotten this emotional about a film, where the tears really came down since I saw E.T. in 1982. That's how powerful Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio is. It's brilliant. It's just a brilliant movie. It's a timeless film. It's a masterpiece.
It's quite good. It's quite good. I think I'm with you, Mance. Like, I would like to see it get nominated. It goes back to what I was saying before, though. It's hard enough to get a nomination when you're more of a traditionally considered production in a particular category. I'm curious to see how the conversation unfolds regarding, like, well, what should Pinocchio even be eligible for? Like, I just feel like that might make it lose some of its momentum in things like cinematography, where if it gets anything other than Best Animated, I think it might be Best Picture. That would be its best other shot.
Oh my God, it's so good. It's
really good.
I was really blown away.
Okay, guys, I got to keep you on track here. Again, let's figure out the top 5 cinematography.
Okay, wait, Jeff. There's 2 other films I just want to throw out to see what the chances are. One is Tar. The other is Banshees of Inisherin. What are your thoughts on those?
I think Tar does have a real chance.
Yeah, I do too. What about Banshees?
I mean, Banshees maybe a little less. Like, it would be just outside of my honorable mentions, but I wouldn't completely be writing it off yet.
Okay, all right. This is a really a tougher category than I expected it to be. Right?
Top Gun and Avatar seem like they're in. Right?
Okay, Top Gun, Avatar,
and the
Fabelmans.
Sure.
I'm really surprised that you don't think that Everything Everywhere is a lock for a nomination.
I don't think it's a lock, but it is currently my number 6.
I think it gets in. I really do. I really, really do. Damn it. But if you don't have it, then I'm outnumbered.
Put that movie over Roger Deakins and Robert Richardson.
Yeah. But you know what? There's a lot of things about Everything Everywhere All at Once that came out of nowhere. And just because, Larkin Seipel, like you said, he's young, so what? It's a great film with great cinematography. The guy deserves the nomination. But if you don't agree, if you don't want to put it on the list, then that's the show. Then we don't put it on the list. That's just the way it is. I get it.
We got to find 2 others. So,
I do think Batman gets a spot. 2 of us had it on our list.
Yeah, Batman's on. 2 of us had it. I feel really strongly about Batman making it. Perri, I know you do too.
I feel very strongly about me wanting it to get a nomination. I'm getting a little nervous about predicting it as a legitimate possibility, but the fact that you had it on your list is making me feel better about that.
But, also,
Avatar, Fabelmans.
All right, so we got. All right, so Everything Everywhere is gone. Thanks a lot. So we got Top Gun, Avatar, Fabelmans, The Batman, and what's the 5th?
I think it's about choosing between something that each of us had that the rest didn't.
All right, so could it be Pinocchio? Could it be Tar? Could it be All Quiet on the Western Front? I don't think Emancipation gets in. I don't think Empire Light is getting in. And Jeff, I will take your word to see Athena, but sight unseen, I don't think it's getting in.
All right, if you guys don't think Emancipation is getting in, then is it Babylon?
Or is it Tar?
Or Tar, yeah.
I would go Tar over Babylon.
All right. So let's do for the sake of this show, because we will revisit these categories like we will do with every category here on FYC. That's the beauty of doing it, starting it early, so we can go back and revisit and change our minds. So for the time being, the nomination predictions for cinematography are Top Gun Maverick, Avatar, Fabelmans, The Batman, and Tar.
Okay,
we did it.
Like a good list to me. All right,
live with it. Before we move on to animation, we do have some breaking awards news that we'll talk about quickly. In addition to Gerard Carmichael hosting the Golden Globes, which is kind of cool, It was just announced that our friend Tom Cruise will receive the PGA's David O. Selznick Award.
Wow. Way to go.
It's a big deal. And if you're reading between the lines, if you extrapolate that line of thinking, is Top Gun Maverick about to win the PGA award?
Well, listen, it's my number one of the year. Nothing would make me happier than to see all that happen. Way to go. I think that is great. That is awesome.
It's a real signifier for Top Gun Maverick this season, I think.
That's a big deal.
That is a big deal. And look, I mean, we talked about this before on FYC. Tom Cruise could stand to get nominated for 2 Oscars between Best Picture, because he produced Top Gun, and Best Actor. So I'm definitely Team Tom Cruise. I think that's pretty obvious. I know, Jeff, you are too. And Perri, I know you love the film as well. Yeah. But without further ado, Best Animated Feature.
Can you come to me first, Mance?
Okay, yes, I'm going to you first, Perri.
I'm going to give you my number 1 and also add that this race is over. It's over. We'll give you our predicted lists, but it's done. It is a done deal. Pinocchio is not just my number 1 for my nomination predictions, but it is the guaranteed winner. I will go, like, usually I hesitate this early out, but this is winning the award, and this should win the award. And that's coming from someone who adores Marcel the Shell with Shoes On.
I agree 100%. This race is over, and not only will it win animated feature, but it deserves to be nominated for the big one, Best Picture. This movie is just sensational, spectacular, and when everyone sees this movie on Netflix, you're gonna let us know what you think, because by the time this drops, you'll be able to watch it on Netflix. So let us know in the comments below whether you think we are right and that it is as great as we are saying that it'll win animated feature. It deserves to win to be nominated at least for Best Picture. Jeff, where is GDT's Pinocchio on your list?
I have it at number 1, sight unseen. Still got to see it.
Unfreaking real. You're gonna love it. You got to tweet. Okay, Jeff, when you watch it, post on Twitter your reaction, tag me and Perri, and we'll do it on Twitter. Something fun, something positive on Twitter for a change. Okay, Perri, Jeff, what's your number 2?
Number
2, I've got Marcel the Shell with the Shoes.
Yay.
Ditto.
Me too. Yep. I almost wish Pinocchio had come out a year before or a year after, just so I could be championing Marcel to win. Because I love Marcel. I think it's a very, very special film.
Yep.
I just know it has no chance, and it hurts my heart a little, but Pinocchio is so good that it's fine.
Yeah, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On it's a wonderful film. It's like a big hug is what that movie is.
It's a movie that shouldn't have worked. I still can't get over the fact that they actually took those shorts and they expanded it into a feature that actually does sustain that fun, lighthearted, heart-filled, silly concept for a full feature. How did they do it? I don't understand.
Yeah, they did
geniuses.
Director Dean Fleischer Camp did a spectacular job. All right, then Perri, what's your number 3?
Turning Red. That is my number 3, and I feel like I could say 4 of my 5 with absolute certainty.
I could say 3 of my 5 with absolute certainty. Number 3 being Turning Red. Jeff, where's Turning Red on your list?
3.
3 as well. All right, then Jeff, what's your number 4?
I've got Wendell and Wild.
Okay, all right. Another stop motion animation film. If it makes it in, that makes 2 stop motion animation films in the nominees for animated feature. Perri, where is Wendell and Wild on your list?
It's currently my number 5, but that's the one that I feel least sure about right now.
Okay, I have Wendell and Wild as my honorable mention with the caveat that I really do want to put it in my top 5 over the number 4. Well, Perri, what's your number 4?
Okay, so here's my thing. I think, Mance, if you said what you said about your top 3 and didn't include your 4th, it's because maybe you haven't seen it yet. My number 4 right now is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, which is, have you seen it?
Yeah,
it's
amazing.
It's very, very good.
Who would have thought?
It is a rock solid story with really powerful themes for adults, but also a spectacle and a fun loving ride for kids. And those visuals, that animation style that they leaned into, I'm so happy they pivoted the way that they did, because those sequences are just absolutely stunning.
I agree with you. When I saw Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, I went into that screening going like, like really another Puss in Boots, sort of extension from the Shrek series, like of really, and then like I was completely blown away. A, by how existential the story actually is. B, by how much it celebrates what we love about Puss in Boots. And C, well, actually, this should be the A, is the animation is absolutely spectacular. I was really blown away on a level of Avatar, the Way of Water. The animation is breathtaking. Jeff, did you see Puss in Boots yet?
I'm just blown away that you guys got an email that said, please join us for Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. And not only did you open it, but you RSVP'd yes.
And
I
we
mean,
went, and we were like,
honestly,
it's good.
It became a priority for me because as I was reading movie news, I was reading a little bit about how they changed the animation style, and I looked at a couple of frames and ultimately the trailer. I'm like, shit, like that looks really good, and I did prioritize
if I
it.
had my niece with me, I would have taken her to go see it, but I'm good on that one. I don't need to see that.
Look, Jeff,
You're missing out.
Don't knock it, Jeff. Seriously,
I'll
Jeff.
live.
Jeff. Okay, you told us to see Athena. All right.
Yeah.
I'll
Yes.
trade you Athena for Puss in Boots. All right, Jeff. I'm serious, man. You got to see Puss in Boots. You're really going to be like, okay, Mance Perri, you were right. It's awesome. Don't laugh. All right, fine. But Perri and I have it on our list. So right now, Puss in Boots stays on our top 5.
You win.
My 5 is a movie that I saw back at South by Southwest, where it had its world premiere. And over the next few months, there was a lot of contention to it because it was not eligible for animation feature because of the rotoscoping involved. But finally, Netflix won the argument, and Apollo 10.5, A Space Age Childhood, is now eligible to be nominated for animated feature, as it should. I cannot believe there was even a moment of doubt that Apollo 10.5 was an animated feature. But you watch this movie and go, holy Toledo, absolutely positively it's an animated feature. It is also a wonderful, delightful, special coming of age movie that's just about so many things: the history of the space race, the history of the 60s, the history of syndicated television, music of the time. I mean, writer-director Richard Linklater did a phenomenal job with Apollo 10.5, and it's a fantastic movie. It's streaming now on Netflix. Apollo 10.5, if you have not yet seen it, look it up on Netflix, watch it. It's an hour and a half long, maybe a little longer, and it absolutely deserves to be nominated. It's a lock in my top 5, but I'm wondering, Jeff, you're giving me a look like I offend.
No, not at all. But a lock in your top 5?
Yeah, it is.
It's a lock. Okay.
Lance, I would swap Wendell and Wild for this.
I had it as my 6, so it's not like I'm sitting here.
Oh, okay, good. All right. Well, okay. Well, then what's your 5?
I had Sea Beast.
Sea Beast is good. Sea Beast is really good.
I haven't seen any of these movies, so I'm just going by what you're saying. I don't have time for these movies.
Sea Beast is very, very good. Also on Netflix, but I just don't feel like people are talking about it. I think comparing, if I had to choose between Sea Beast or Apollo 10.5, it's a kind of tough because Sea Beast is really, really like an emotional film as well that kind of reminded me a little of what's the How to Train Your Dragon? It kind of reminded me of that.
Would you go with Sea Beast over Wendell and Wild?
All Netflix titles.
All Netflix titles.
I mean,
no, I would go Wendell and Wild over Sea Beast. I would go Wendell and Wild over Sea Beast, but I would go Apollo 10.5 over Wendell and Wild. Perri?
I think I'm leaning towards giving you the win on that, man. So right now I have Wendell and Wild as my number 5, but I think the conversation around Apollo 10.5 might raise some curiosity and maybe could have some people out there prioritize it where, maybe they're sitting there and they don't know which of these many Netflix animated movies to watch first. So I don't know. I think I'm interested in the idea of of bumping up Apollo 10.5 to my number 5 and bumping Wendell and Wild down to 6.
Yeah, Wendell Wild is currently my number 1 honorable mention, followed by Sea Beast. Sea Beast is my number 2 honorable mention.
Okay, so let's do Pinocchio, Marcel, Turning Red, Puss in
Puss in
Boots.
Boots. Really pained you to say that, didn't
Yeah,
it?
it did. It did. But just want to throw out a couple other films to see. Lightyear, does that have a chance? No, I don't think so either. What about Luck? No. Okay. So there you go. That's it.
Minions.
So,
No one's talking about Minions.
no, I don't think
I
Minions.
don't think that Minions movie is getting in, even though I really do like. I haven't seen that one, but I like a lot of the others. The other one that I think is probably a pretty big disappointment that has no shot for Disney is Strange World.
What? Well, maybe it does
That
have
one
a
has
shot.
no shot.
I don't think that's getting in.
Wow.
I liked it. I was like middle of the road teetering positive on it. And I think it does have a whole lot of beautiful visuals, but I just don't know if like the overall structure of that story really, I don't think they fully pulled off what they were going for there in a way that, you know, made the impression that it needed to, especially in terms of the Oscar race.
Sure. Yeah. No, I get that. All right. Well, listen, then there it is. The nominees, our predictions on this episode of FYC are for animated feature are Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. And make sure you say Guillermo del Toro's name in that title because it is absolutely a Guillermo del Toro masterpiece. Number 1 with a bullet. Number 2, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. Turning Red, Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, and Apollo 10 and a Half, A Space Age Childhood. Those are the nominations for Best Animated Feature. Make sure you let us know what you think of our predictions. Make sure you share FYC on all your social media platforms so more people can watch the best weekly award season show ever made in the history of the universe. Make sure you subscribe right now. You can do it while you're watching this. Go down, just scroll down a little bit while this video is playing and subscribe to Perri Nemiroff's channel because we are here doing this season of FYC because of Perri Nemiroff and her channel. So again, I said it once, I'll say it a million times. Perri, thank you for giving us this platform so we can keep the party going and make sure you join us for the next episode of FYC because we're coming in hot week after week. Until next time, FY, see you later.